Imagine a world where oil no longer moves at the mercy of ancient sea lanes, where the tides and storms of the open ocean no longer dictate the flow of energy that powers entire nations. For centuries, the world's oil has traveled along perilous maritime routes, threading through narrow straits and congested shipping lanes, always vulnerable to disruption by weather, piracy, or geopolitics. But now, picture a new reality, one where oil barrels thunder across continents by rail, forging a direct land bridge between east and west. Steel tracks cut through deserts, mountains, and plains, connecting distant economies with unprecedented speed and security. Today, that world is no longer a vision of the future. The first freight train loaded with Iranian crude oil has arrived in western China, marking the official inauguration of the China-Iran Railway. This is a moment that signals the dawn of a new era in global logistics and energy trade. This project is more than just a physical link between two nations. It's a strategic shift in global trade and power dynamics. It represents a bold reimagining of how resources can move across continents, bypassing traditional bottlenecks and rewriting the rules of international commerce. As a pillar of China's ambitious Belt and Road Initiative, this modern Silk Road now carries crude oil instead of silk, symbolizing a transformation in both purpose and scale. The iron arteries of this railway promise a steady, reliable flow of energy, fueling China's growth and ambitions. For China, it's about securing energy independence and reducing reliance on vulnerable sea routes. Every train that arrives strengthens the nation's energy security and economic resilience. For Iran, this railway is an economic lifeline, a vital new export route that opens doors to Asian markets and signals a decisive pivot eastward, away from traditional trade partners and sanctions. The railway stands as a bold statement of intent, showcasing China's ability to shape new trade corridors and Iran's determination to find new pathways to prosperity. Traversing the volatile heart of Central Asia, its completion highlights not only Beijing's engineering prowess, but also its diplomatic skill in navigating complex regional politics and security challenges. This new overland route directly challenges centuries-old maritime dominance, offering a secure and efficient alternative to vulnerable choke points like the Malacca Strait and reducing the risks of global supply disruptions. As the first oil train rolls into China, the world's strategic map is being redrawn before our eyes. The steel rails of this new Silk Road are not just carrying oil, they are carrying the promise of a new era in global trade, energy, and geopolitics. The Strait of Malacca, just 2.7 kilometers wide at its narrowest, serves as one of the most vital maritime passages on the planet. This narrow stretch of water, squeezed between the coastlines of Malaysia and Indonesia, is far more than just a geographic feature. It is a lifeline for the global economy. For centuries, the strait has been the world's shipping bottleneck, a place where the flow of goods, energy, and resources is funneled through a single crowded corridor. Every day, hundreds of massive cargo ships and oil tankers navigate these waters, creating a constant, high-stakes traffic jam. Today, an astonishing one-third of all global maritime trade passes through this narrow waterway. For China, the stakes are even higher. 60% of its trade, including vital energy imports, relies on safe passage through the strait. The Strait of Malacca is the main artery for oil shipments from the Middle East to East Asia. This makes it a critical vulnerability for China, whose booming economy depends on a steady flow of imported energy. Any disruption here, whether from piracy, regional conflict, or the intervention of a rival navy, could cripple China's economy almost overnight, cutting off essential supplies and sending shockwaves through global markets. The ever-present patrols of the U.S. Navy in these waters are a constant reminder to Beijing of its strategic vulnerability. American warships can monitor, and if necessary, control this choke point, giving the U.S. significant leverage. As a result, China's dependence on the Strait of Malacca has profoundly shaped its foreign policy and security strategies for decades, driving its leaders to seek ways to reduce this risk. The strait's chronic congestion and its long history of piracy only add to the uncertainty. Even a minor incident can cause massive delays, threaten lives, and disrupt the flow of goods. A brief closure of the strait, whether due to accident, attack, or blockade, would send oil prices soaring, disrupt global supply chains, and trigger economic turmoil far beyond Asia. Japan, and South Korea too, are deeply dependent on this route for their energy needs. But for China, with its vast population and industrial base, the stakes are highest of all. This vulnerability, often called the Malacca dilemma, has forced China to invest billions in finding alternative routes, from pipelines to overland railways, to ensure its economic security. The ambitious China-Iran Railway, stretching across harsh terrain and international borders, is China's boldest answer yet to bypassing the strait and securing its energy future. For China, this is about far more than trade. It's about national security, strategic independence, and the ability to withstand any threat to its economic lifelines. The China-Iran Railway is a direct overland route, bypassing Southeast Asia's maritime choke points. Starting at Iran's Persian Gulf oil terminals, it crosses Central Asia and ends in China's Xinjiang. This Iron Silk Road is a feat of engineering and diplomacy, linking the Middle East to China's industrial heartland. Central Asian nations become vital transit hubs, deepening their economic ties to Beijing. Rail cuts delivery time from up to 45 days by sea to as little as 15 by land. Faster transit means lower insurance, more efficient supply chains, and greater energy security. While sea routes remain essential, the railway offers China strategic redundancy. In a crisis, oil can still flow, giving Beijing new freedom on the world stage. The China-Iran Railway is a geopolitical game-changer. By bypassing U.S. naval dominance, China and Iran are building an alternative economic bloc. For Iran, it's a way around U.S. sanctions, harder to monitor or block than oil tankers. For China, it deepens influence in Central Asia, pulling Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, and Kazakhstan closer. This new corridor challenges Russia's traditional sway in the region. The U.S. and its allies must now rethink strategies as China becomes less vulnerable to maritime pressure. The great game for Eurasian influence has entered a new, more complex phase. The balance of power is shifting, on rails, not waves. The numbers reveal the railway's impact. Rail cuts the Iran to China journey from up to 45 days by sea to just 15-20 days. Though rail is pricier per ton-mile, faster delivery means lower insurance and less capital tied up. The railway's initial capacity, up to 300,000 barrels per day, is a significant share of China's pre-sanctions Iranian imports. As the network expands, capacity will grow, providing a steady, reliable energy flow immune to maritime disruptions. The real value is strategic. If the Strait of Malacca closes, oil can still reach China by rail. It's an insurance policy, one Beijing is willing to pay for. The premium is higher transport cost. The payoff is energy security. In a crisis, this rail line could be China's lifeline. The sea route from Iran to China is long and risky, over 12,000 kilometers through choke points like Hormuz and Malacca. Tankers face threats from piracy, naval competition, and unpredictable weather. A single disruption can paralyze supply chains. The new rail route, by contrast, is shorter and under the control of a handful of nations with a shared economic stake. Risks shift from piracy to political instability and infrastructure security. China has invested heavily in Central Asian stability to protect its investment. Sea routes offer bulk and lower cost, but are exposed. Rail offers speed and security, but at a higher price and lower volume. China now has both, a hybrid system for resilience. It's not about replacement, but about options. Energy security has shaped global power for a century. The US once guaranteed oil flows by sea. Now China is building its own overland lifelines. The China-Iran Railway is part of Beijing's strategy to reduce reliance on vulnerable sea lanes. Diversification is the new energy security. Multiple routes, not just one. This creates new interdependence. Iran, Central Asia, and China are now tightly linked. China's leverage in the region grows as its infrastructure binds economies together. The world is shifting from a maritime order to a land and sea hybrid, with new alliances and rivalries. The future of energy flows and global power will be decided on both land and sea. The unveiling of the China-Iran Railway has sent ripples across the globe, sparking intense reactions from major capitals and shifting the balance of power in Eurasia. This ambitious project is more than just a transportation link, it's a symbol of changing alliances and emerging rivalries. In Washington, policymakers view the railway as a direct blow to U.S. efforts to isolate Iran. It's seen as a challenge to American influence in the region, undermining years of sanctions and diplomatic pressure. The U.S. now faces the reality that its traditional tools of leverage are being tested by China's growing economic reach, and there are growing concerns about losing strategic ground in the Middle East. For India, the new corridor complicates its long-standing ambitions in Central Asia. China's railway overshadows Indian projects like the Chabahar port, which was meant to give India access to Afghanistan and beyond. Now New Delhi must rethink its regional strategy as Beijing's influence expands, threatening to sideline India's economic and diplomatic efforts. The railway cements a powerful China-Pakistan-Iran axis, creating a new corridor of cooperation that limits India's regional influence and reshapes the strategic landscape. This alliance could redefine trade and security dynamics across South and Central Asia. Russia's reaction is mixed. On one hand, Moscow welcomes the emergence of a multipolar world that challenges Western dominance. On the other, it quietly worries about China's growing dominance in Central Asia, a region Russia has long considered its own backyard. As Beijing's infrastructure projects bind Central Asia ever closer to China, Moscow sees its traditional sphere of influence slipping away. Russian leaders are now forced to navigate a delicate balance between cooperation and competition with China. Europe faces a dilemma, caught between US sanctions and the economic opportunities China is creating with Iran. European policymakers must weigh their transatlantic alliances against the lure of new markets and investment prospects. European companies watch with a mix of hope and frustration as China builds the future of Iranian trade. Many see lucrative opportunities slipping away due to political constraints, while others quietly explore ways to participate in the new Silk Road. The railway exposes the growing gap between Europe's economic interests and its political alignment with the US. This tension is forcing European leaders to reconsider their approach to both Washington and Beijing. Around the world, the message is clear: the rules of the game are changing fast. Traditional alliances are being tested, and new power centers are emerging as global trade routes are redrawn. China is setting the pace, driving forward with bold infrastructure projects that are reshaping the global order and redefining what's possible in international connectivity. The China-Iran Railway is more than a new oil route, it's a symbol of a world in flux. It addresses China's Malacca dilemma, offering a strategic alternative to vulnerable sea lanes. For China, it's a leap in energy security. For Iran, an economic lifeline. For the US, a challenge to its global reach. The railway's real value is strategic, faster, more predictable supply, and insulation from maritime threats. Sea lanes will still dominate, but the rail line gives China critical redundancy and freedom. The global order is shifting from maritime dominance to a multipolar land and sea system. As oil rolls across Eurasia by rail, the world's maps of power are being redrawn. Are these new Silk Roads paving the way for prosperity, or new fault lines of conflict?